though we kind of learned the origins of the holiday a little bit, are more dark and sinister than we were taught in schools about the pilgrims having feast with the Indians and getting along. That's not necessarily really the case. It didn't last very long, but we'll get into that another time. What I want to talk to you guys about on this video is more along the lines of the disappearing homeless. And for you guys who've been kind of following this case, this latest one came in San Francisco with the Chinese leaders actually met up with this big conference in San Francisco with, of course, California Governor Gavin Newsom, which we knew, and I've talked about it before, that he was unfairly reelected. It was fixed for him to win that. And it's a real shame that that's the way it is, but it happened. It's the world we live in. But he even comes out and says it. Basically, what happened was a bunch of homeless just kind of vanished overnight, and people were trying to get a hold of their loved ones, and they weren't getting through to them. Well, basically, uh, he even comes out and admits it. Gavin Newsom did. He said, "Well, yeah, we basically just put them up in these shelters and relocated them. They're not dead or something like that." But it kind of got me thinking what happened during Hurricane Harvey in Texas many years ago, where I really dug into this, and a lot of people didn't realize it, but FEMA was going around with the homeless population. And back then, the waters were really high, and what they were doing was they were rounding up homeless on a boat and putting them in a couple different spots, whether it be a football stadium or wherever that they identified as a safe shelter for these people. But one YouTuber actually covered it, and he was banned from the platform back then. And this was probably about, oh, I don't know, 2011 or 13. I can't remember. But those homeless people were never seen from again. And people were kind of going wild with the conspiracy theories, saying FEMA concentration camps and stuff like that. This is the beginning of the end. And they've got all our black coffins lined up, which is true. There are lots of black coffins, that plastic ones, they've been lined up for a long time at these FEMA camps. And I've talked about it before with our source, Christopher Privet, in Muncie, Indiana, who's identified back in 2013 when I worked with him at the Rallies restaurant down there, where there's this live, work, play center that's down there. And he's actually gone up to it and taken pictures of it. And it's surrounded by a barbed wire fence and all that stuff. And we presume that they're getting a lot of us ready for, future times ahead where people are going to be taken in to these spaces, whether they be FEMA in concentration camps or live, work, play centers, whatever you want to call it. We know that we're living in dark times right now. And the homeless situation, here in Parkersburg, where I live right now in West Virginia, there's actually a big movement going on to get the homelessness out, people out of the city. They're buying them. City elected officials are actually paying out of city council's budget for a one-way ticket out of town for the homeless people. And it's not going to solve the problem. It's just going to dump it off on somebody else. But one-way ticket out of town. And once in a while, some of the homeless people don't show up, and city council gets really pissed about it. And they said, well, we wasted this ticket on this Greyhound for nothing. But most times people will go and they'll leave the city. And, you might be helping this one individual city a little bit with that idea. But like I said, you're not solving the problem. You're not actually helping these people come off drugs or whatever their problems are. You're just getting it out of your neck of the woods. And also, they're charging people now, homeless people, about $150 in fines for loitering on property, and they'll never be able to pay that. Like I said, you're not fixing anything. The homeless people won't be able to pay it, and if you're going to put them in jail, there's no room in jail for them. So they're trying to put a band-aid on a bigger problem with the homeless situation, and it's not working. And our city leaders, honestly, I think they're failing us. People might say, well, they're not here and that's all I care about. Well, that's not, it's not helping the person who's afflicted with the problems. It's not helping other people in other places where they go to. I don't like that situation at all. I'd like to shift gears a little bit and focus on the Chinese disease outbreak that's been happening right now in this porch talk video here, even though it's inside my house because it's too cold to be sitting on the porch right now. But it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I just want to talk about it. So back when 3 years ago, when you guys remember, I got my initial channel banned because I talked about everything that was going on with wearing these, having these up here, and getting these. And you can't save everybody. A lot of people didn't listen; they were scared. The army was doing rodeos and stuff when I was in, and this was happening. I was the very first person that put in religious exemption against it all. And I keep, I always get censored and stuff, and I'll never make any money off this. I'm trying to do this to help you guys. But I mean, the hope is that one day I will, but I doubt that day is ever going to come just because every periodic 3 months or something, I happen to get censored or, on a video. But yeah, that's the thing is I'm just here to try to help guys. And I guess in China right now, people are just dying and dropping dead in mass, and they're just falling down. And we've seen this happen before. And you guys are pretty smart. I don't have to go into much detail right now. I just want to make you aware of what's going on. I talked previously on a Porch Talk video about a couple viruses that I thought would make their way here, specifically Marburg, and I said that would come in 8 weeks. And that hasn't necessarily held true exactly, but now you're kind of seeing it. Now, all of a sudden, this is happening out in China. And just be aware, things are happening. And, the timelines might not always be correct, but you already know we're living in dark times. So just be prepared. The best defense is my Christian friends, they always say, pray. Don't live in fear, just pray. Put it all in God's hands. And a lot of us are hoping for the return of Jesus, but nobody knows the day and the hour that's going to happen. Not even Jesus himself knows that. So, I also want to talk a little bit about police corruption. So, I've talked about it at length if you guys have followed this channel in relation to the disappearance of Gretchen Fleming. And there's enough going on with the police to know that there is corruption involved. Now, do I have cold, hard, concrete evidence of exactly what it is? Not 100%, but we do have bits and pieces, and I've seen it with people I've talked to and interacted with, and the actions that the police are taking when they tell my friends to stop searching or you're interfering with a active police investigation. That's just intimidation tactics. It's not illegal to sit there and search for somebody who's missing. And they've actually gone so far as to follow one of my friends who's done the most in searching for this young woman. They follow her every single day to work. They literally tell her, stop searching for her, or you're going to get yourself killed. They've She's almost lost her son and granddaughter. And I know that this is all because of the police involvement. Now, is it just the police? No. But you got to ask yourselves, what's going on in Cleveland with the 50 missing people up there? More than that now. What's going on in Maui, Hawaii with the 2,500 missing people up there? It's a big clandestine collaborative network of government, and I'm going to say it right now, government organizations that are working together, whether it be police, FBI, you name it, CPS, it's all of it, who's working together to traffic humans. And whether it be, there are three different avenues here. There's child trafficking, there's human trafficking for sex slavery, which we're talking about probably in the disappearance of Gretchen Fleming and two other women from this community who have now been identified as missing. And I'm going to talk about that on another video. Some of our true crime ladies that are getting together and do their investigative journalism and detective skills, they've now identified two other women that have come up missing from the city of Parkersburg, West Virginia. And we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to solve these crimes. We may not find them, but our goal is to find them because one of those girls, we're pretty sure, is still alive. And where one is alive, more could be. Gretchen could still be out there alive. If this is human trafficking and sex slavery, she could be out there loaded up on heroin, unable to live in her right mind, and unable to escape or do anything, and being forced to do sex slavery. I mean, we think that's what's going on with a couple of these other girls. Now, we're going to try to get to the bottom of that. And it's getting pretty dangerous out there right now, I will say. And like I said, with my friend who's been threatened and harassed, and they put a gag order on the person of interest, and everybody thinks he's guilty. We thought it. I thought it. I thought he was working with somebody else. That no longer appears to be the case with my belief. Now, am I 100% right on that? No, I'm not 100% right. I don't know. But at the end of the day, whoever wants to believe anybody, what it really comes down to is there's always one right and there's always a wrong. And whatever happened, happened. But to me, it appears that the person of interest in this case I'm talking about regarding Gretchen Fleming, who is Preston Pierce, on this instance, I think he's innocent personally. So we're going to continue to investigate and get you guys some answers on that. But he has turned in evidence to the police and they've said it no longer exists. They want the case to go cold because they think they'll lose in court. That tells me a lot right there. So our police department is very shady. Now, am I saying every single person is corrupt and evil and bad? No, I'm not. I know there are some good ones. And the young ones specifically are mostly, they're good. They don't know. It's like when I went in the army, most people I went in the army with, they didn't have a clue what was going on 3 years ago, and I screamed it from the rooftops trying to say, "Hey, be careful because what they're forcing you to do is not something you want to partake of." So I can only do so much. You can't save everybody, but you can try, and that's the purpose of this channel. So I want to touch a little bit on the hospital deaths that have been going on before I wrap this up. And my friend Tanya Derenberger, you guys remember her from the channel as Speak to the Sky. I've told this story a couple times. Marietta Memorial, the hospital that's across the Ohio River in Ohio, begged and pleaded with me to end her life. I was primary medical provider, and they said, "We've got her on fentanyl. She's suffering worse than an animal. We wouldn't even do this to an animal." And I said, "You're the ones who put her on fentanyl. I never authorized you to do this. I'm primary medical provider. You didn't run that through me, and now you want me to give the green light to end her life. She wanted to live." My friend Penny Letson, her father was killed during what went on a few years ago. And since she was not primary medical power of attorney, they wouldn't let her make those decisions to save her own father's life. So when they put her on the vent, or when they put her dad on the vent, she couldn't do anything but sit there and watch it happen. And it's hard. It's hard for people to sit there and go through this heartache and pain. But I want you guys to understand that that is what's going on. A guy I worked with at Lowe's earlier this year, he was in his early 70s, still working. His wife, they had one room and one ventilator for her. She didn't make it. They ran out of rooms for him. He made it. He kind of saw it, what happened after the fact. Now, again, am I saying everybody's evil and everybody's out to kill people? No, I'm not. We had a friend who was saved by an EMT because she took that gummy. If you watch one of my previous videos of cannabis gummy, and she went into straight cardiac arrest. She's in her 20s, I think. And the EMT pulled her to the side and said, "You know what? We're not going to have time to make it to the hospital. I'm going to stop your heart, get the defibrillator out." Her arm was blue, and he restarted her heart and saved her life and got her home to her baby. So not everybody's bad. I get it, but I'm just trying to wake you guys up and see what's really going on because we are living in hard times. And I'm sorry that this is what it is, but if there's one message I can convey to you guys, it's please, please do not be scared. I have friends in real time right now who are scared of the content that I'm putting out there because they don't want to get wrapped up with this police corruption stuff. They are my friends, and they don't want much to do with me if I keep coming out there and bashing the police and talking about what the truth is really happening. That's some Nazi Gestapo mentality. And please don't be like that because it might not be popular to do the things we're doing, but I'm sorry. It's where we're at right now. So wake up, see it for what's going on. And I love you guys. Be true, pray, lean on Jesus. Hopefully he comes back and saves us from worse times. But with the war that's going on in Israel right now, I'll tell you, it's getting scary times. They can call me back into war anytime. I'm still under service obligations for another year and a half. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you as always. Reach out if you need anything. We're always here for you.